I often sit down for a review of a project produced on Netflix, as you can find out from my past examples, located on the channels. It is only amazing that they have a big bar to raise, being at the same time a good entertainment content on this platform. Although sometimes it does not always work out, but the second season of Wednesday was able to show his good sides, which it is quite possible to notice clearly not sharpened eye to it. The second season had to wait as much as 3 years to get the final result from Burton, who did the job, although fine in some points, but still shows the mistakes he made when he took up the sequel. The same Squid Game, and its third season, despite my criticism, went a few goals better, showing how the series ended at the end. For earlier, I will say that my claims will be due to the shortcomings that have appeared, which someone did not understand in the end of the shooting, because these are the very moments that ruin the moment with another scene, which undoubtedly I will analyze. Let's start with the pros. Surprisingly, they are at least in the season, from which I am extremely surprised, as well as from the music of Danny Elfman, which sets the mood, even to such that you will only see one cringe in 4 episodes. No wonder I praised the same playing Squid in terms of music, because the way a musician works, creating music is very wonderful, because of not standing still melody, continuing it, not fixating on one segment of the sound. I hope that there is no need to say that the music here is excellent in contrast to those animated series, where I try to make it out as such, finding stupidly nothing, hearing only the monotonous voice of the characters. Music makes itself felt in every moment, including how wonderful it was in the second season, without leaving the viewer in silence and in the hum, from which you can go crazy, and like a circus fanatic, where you ate, as you will find good compositions in subsequent episodes. However, the music was and remains the best that is in Netflix projects, overflowing their creations with stupid moments, from which the whole viewing goes upside down, because of the nonsense that the same Burton committed, developing the second season. This can be considered to show the main villain in small bits, so that after that in the last series to remove all suspicions by removing the mask. I will say that before the 4th series, the villain did that she carried out crimes, only in order to acid off the psychos who attacked her in the last episode. Fuck, wait, you mean not joking? Demonstrating first what the main antagonist is capable of, provoking Wednesday to catch her, and then she is drained. And as the main obstacle for the main character remains a character, performing in the first season. Dawnism is concrete. It is seen from the outstretched hand of a person. If the main observer is also what came to someone's mind, to demonstrate the villain through his small representations, and not to present it as an average, statistical character, who has exactly the same scripted importance as the main character. Or scriptwriters say this about their greater importance, that by giving them a paper, they decided to create it is not clear what, just show the villain in the shadows, while Burton endured all their whims. Do I need to say in general that the villain, in order for him to seem so, must appear in the frame? Then the ordinary viewer will rush in his head the idea that all these troubles with crows occur by chance, because there is no one behind them, who has not yet been shown to us, except, fuck, the stubbornness of the fuckers who wrote the script, believing that the Yard is still the age of Disney, where the villains always find themselves a completely irrelevant figure in history, showing the scenic impotence of those who demonstrated this exaggerated dirt from under the bed. In summary, what then theme Wednesday has with the villains, which I do not even know what the name is. For the first season, I dick knows it when I watched, and because of the hype of desire does not appear. In order to review and remember all the events, the values of the Wednesday and the villain are not exemplary at all, connecting, making a conflict between them, occurring only in the head of someone who tried to understand all these simple machinations, creating confusion only in his mind, which God forbid is. If you can think so, bitch. Of all the useful and necessary, the villain only performs the task of leading to her capture, without making other important parts in order to show at least any disclosure at all, although she gives warnings that it will not be difficult for her to kill the Enith. But after a couple of jokes it does not cost anything else, which could the same Wednesday alert, preparing her for the fact that trouble will soon happen. Well, if the screenwriter spoke only about his problems, then I am not even surprised at this, only how such a fragmented slut could not cope with his work at all. It can be considered only from its difficulty, which is not, as such, only for the corkscrew Gondon, who had to write it out in order to give Burton with such a draft of ideas to shoot no more than Keller, showing the producers that they ended up with much worse. I'm just amazed at the fact that a lot of critics, which they did, that they praised stories where there is a well-developed villain with his own written theme, going against the one that is the main character, not showing up in this, fuck him, series, as well as in general everything that represented at least an average rating. This can also be given to directing. If that constantly changes every time, taking a shot from the side, or approaching the face of the character, what value does this technique have if it does not work on certain characters? And such a trick is used in unexpected moments, when everything was demonstrated from the outside. Such a question, and fuck bring the camera closer to the face of the character. since it is possible to show everything from the side more cinematographically, where all the details and the main faces in the frame will be seen. How does the work of Burton show this, if he cannot make it clearer by straightening the camera to a certain actor, who will also be visible from a separate frame? I had an idea in writing that this is how the frame switches to the protagonist but, or if the same Wednesday or other family members know each other, or if they are monologuing with people who know them, but the scene still switches to fuck so that it is knocked out. Fuck, probably, or when the character is eating. As a certain person knows, the meaning in such scenes does not change, because it will be much better to shoot from the outside, because in this way you can catch everyone who stands in the scene in the frame. If Burton had the idea to add this idea, then let him use it to the full, and not to mix it up to shoot also spacious scenes in which everyone falls when shooting. After all, when switching in such moment happens, what I want to do is boil this parachute, which wanders between the two options, not understanding, at the same time, what it should be. Then the characters do not have any emotions on their faces. If this does not speak of the same monotony that Burton meant not by the atmosphere, creeping horror, it is terrible to find such a thing in the series about summer camp, which the villain of the season demonstrates at the end of the episode, showing how Wednesday wins all the counselors, because it was simply impossible to expect defeat from her. Therefore, I only supported the counselors who have superpowers and close to know, to recoup in the local competition, which will serve those who will fly out of this camp, because both parties have concluded an agreement on this matter. The desire of not a single one did not appear, at least somehow, to stand on the side of the main character. If that ordinary person is not difficult to jerk in any planes. And this is not a hint that there is a member between the legs of Wednesday, for he remains only with me. Literally, we are shown how Wednesday circumvents the naive counselors of the Normis, beating them all at the end, when you need to apply all your efforts to win, namely in showing yourself to be a fucking Mary of Swishner. There is no need to even guess what and just. No one did not take up, even people on the screening, who watched everything before the release of the season, that the weekend of all, as always, will be able to bypass everyone, if that width, and not the stomach, but the chin will embody this. And Burton did this in order to endanger the main character. But it is the person himself from his own created ending, from which the brains will flow faster than the same tears from the fact that she was thrown off by Tyler in the guise of a werewolf, from a mental hospital. Fuck, and from this I have to experience some emotions, if not completely existential pain from the torn veins of my brain, which from this moment I have dispersed, as well as in other the logic of the series with the most subtle at the end. Not skittish, not like. I do not have any empathy to Jenna Ortega is not close, if she does not play herself in the series, building sadness from scratch, ending the story not yet released at this interval, when they showed that Wednesday will come out of any trouble, and she suspends the threat at the last moment. Think there are a few scratches, everything will come sideways to her, as in other series, where she fell into danger, as well as a brick flying in her face directly from me, where it says, with love. I do not want to worry about the heroine when she is shown cold-blooded, coping with all the difficulties that arise on the way, which she constantly overcame, and the writing devils end the parade of shit at a wonderful moment in which the feeling of anxiety, well, at least they, is at the limit than the audience themselves, watching this fucking snot-emitting sir, and it also remains that the award can be given to the one who was engaged in graphics, and give, by the way, the lowest, only for the reason that the texture of the Tyler form of a werewolf is soapy to the pussy, showing that in fact it is still so that even the ass does not shine with some details, let alone for other parts of the body, looking into the same eyes as a realistic monster, then at the level of ordinary human. It seems not natural because of its small detailing. Although for such a parachute office as Netflix, everything goes to match the content produced on this platform. It, in addition, shows very little, as well as the scenes themselves, where it manifests itself, carrying everything at its turn. But this is only possible to consider hanging, trembling from the usual wave of the lap, on which the whole action ends. All right, there were some attempts to confront the police, but he only kicks these cops minimally, then hiding, with numerical jump animation. I blame this moment, only for one reason, and it is that even the only segment with large-scale graphics, they bothered to screw up, like the writers, their scripting skills, which manifests itself by their invisibility. And how could you sit in a puddle like that, and still do it with a bare ass? For even their pants were most likely deprived, because, rather, this is also the same budget, which they did not even limit themselves to such simple fornication, his ass. Well, how not to mention it last, although I did not want, but it was worth it, the line with the revived zombie, which was the same scientist from the bike, buried himself with a mechanical heart, much slower than the person who invented this fucked up, like his mother, plot branch, because all the fun ends exactly when this zombie escapes, because after his voiceover, he is also kept in shackles until he is released, and he absolutely does not escape from the mental hospital with a pogrom in it, which, among other things, happened to all screenwriters, because of the excess of stupid ideas. They say so about themselves that they are mediocre, who do not need to write a multi-billion-dollar script for projects, but in general do not go out and do not talk to people. I just staggered my mouth, just this cocksucker, who they were called in the working department, that they cannot come up with anything peculiar cannot come up with, stirring one idea into the cauldron, which does not have a single potential of its own, as was shown with the line with the zombie engineer, as if there were such a mountain working on the second season of Wednesday. with throwing thoughts on the general outline, which is no less dumb is that of all the compared projects, which can be put low marks. This Drakilda should only be equated with its clumsy detailing with those who developed it. Because of all the stupidity, I praised the second season at the beginning, only because this Salapandra was interesting to watch, which is not only a surprise for me and you, but also for the fucking dicks, who were responsible for the script, writing so unluminous until the last episodes. I forgot to talk about them. In September, or at least at the beginning of the month, the last series will be released, which I will still analyze. In general, the second season of this Missionina needs to be completely rebuilt, given that they were clearly responsible for those whose brainwork was also changed during childbirth, and then, not the fat and overgrown hair of their mothers on their fate, but they themselves, who fucked up the machination about the production of Bad Riders in an obvious way. Oh, okay, in the Pussy the series, because the one who came up with the idea to create a sequel to the series clearly assigned a member for the growth of a high-rise. Fuck. Well, okay, guys. And with you was Hyper, and you put and subscribe to the channel, and write comments, because I also read them. Do not forget to follow the links in the description, visiting both the Telegram channel and support on donation alerts. And with you was Hyper, and everyone. Bye.